Let's get the very latest now from Resul Serdar, who's in Kilis at the Turkish border with Syria. Resul, what are you hearing of these reports that the opposition fighters are close to Damascus?
Indeed, now they are getting closer and closer to the capital, Damascus, from the east axis and also from the southern side. So since yesterday, the Syrian government has lost complete control over the city of Daraa and then now Quneitra and also a majority of the Sweida as well. These are the southern cities of Syria that is connecting the country to Jordan. And now the opposition forces are heading toward the north and almost seizing and encircling the capital Damascus from the south and heading toward the north. Now they have taken over the town of Daraa, they have taken over the town of Samanin, and now we are seeing roughly in many places there are fights that are taking place around 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers away, and in some places even we are talking about less proximity of 20, 25 kilometers, 15 kilometers. So, and that is not only from the south, from the east also. The opposition forces today has taken the control of the town of Palmyra. You remember in 2014, ISIS has taken the control of that city. It's a historic site and they have destroyed that historical monuments. Now that is under the control of the opposition. But taking over Palmyra simply by the opposition, simply for the Syrian government means that they have lost their connection from the entire eastern areas of the country. So when we go to the further east, the Syrian government forces that were left there are now surrendering themselves to the Iraqi security forces at the border. Then when you go to the city of Homs, which is another strategic place, a major city of Syria, the third largest one, the opposition fighters are saying that they are engaging in a fight with the Syrian government forces. And now in several of the neighborhoods of the city of Homs, now the fighting is still continuing. And so when you look at this map now, it's just surrealistic that within 10 days the government has been losing its control over the majority of the country, nearly 60% of the country, and now it is redirecting its all forces from the south, from the east, from the north, from all the remote areas to the capital city Damascus. And so anytime the opposition forces could take the control of the city of Homs from the north of the capital and then from the south of the capital, anytime the opposition forces could have an access or reach to the outskirts of Damascus.
And Resul, the remarkable thing about this advance is just the speed of it, isn't it? I mean, just territory taken at a rapid pace.
Indeed, now, so if you look at the major cities of Syria, so Damascus is the largest city and the capital of the country, which is now still under the control of the Syrian government. And then the second largest city is Aleppo, and it has been taken by the opposition roughly around 10 days ago. And now, so they have taken the control of the fourth largest city, Hama, soon after the fall of Aleppo. And now they're seizing the city of Homs, which is the third largest city of the country, and now they are taking parts of that city. And when you go to south, the major cities from south, Quneitra or particularly Daraa, these are major cities, are completely under the control of the opposition. When you go to the east of the country, Resul, another major city, or Raqqa at the north, these are the major cities. They are also now taken by the opposition forces, backed by the USA, mainly the SDF, Syrian Democratic Forces, that are mainly made of Kurds, so the Kurdish fighters. So now, the only two major cities that are under the control of the government are Damascus and Latakia, at the western, the coastal city of Syria. So just two cities major cities under the control of the government. And when you look at the demography, the geography, now the government doesn't have control of over 70% of the country in terms of the population and in terms of the lands. That is quite unprecedented. And of course, there are some of the reasons for that, the dynamics that have prepared this kind of picture. First, we are seeing a Syrian government that is much weaker than in 2016 when it was backed strongly by Russia, by Iran, by Hezbollah on the ground. And now both Syrian government and its allies are much weaker. So Russians are extremely busy in Ukraine. They have withdrawn majority of their military equipment and personnel from the Hama air base to Ukraine. And for Iranians and for Hezbollah, we have seen Israelis targeting them again and again, their officials, their military experts, and destroying the equipments belonging to them in Syria as well, and in Lebanon. So all of these factors have created such a vacuum. And on the other hand, while all these were happening to the Syrian government and its allies at the north, the Idlib province, the opposition was training, gathering more equipment, updating that, and working on a plan and training their fighters, around 60,000 fighters. Then they suddenly started to have an offensive over Aleppo, and surprisingly Aleppo has just fallen down so quickly within 24 hours, and then almost 48 hours later they took control of Syria's fourth largest city, Hama, and now they are just encircling the third largest city, Homs. And when you go further south, the capital of the country is also being encircled from the east, from the north, and from the south as well. Absolutely, this is just unprecedented.
And Resul, do we know anything of the size of the opposition force? They seem very well coordinated.
Indeed, now, Nick, when we talk about the opposition in Syria, we're not talking only about one opposition. So it has to be quite clear. The opposition that took over Aleppo, took over Hama, the fourth largest city, and then now seizing the city of Homs. This is led by HTS. So HTS, the Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, or as it's known, and formerly it was Nusra Front, and before that, so it was officially affiliated with Al-Qaeda. However, they're saying that they have transformed themselves since 2016 when they were expelled from the city of Aleppo by the Syrian government, and of course supported by the heavy airstrikes of Russia. And now they're saying that, well, we believe that Syria belongs to everyone, Muslims, non-Muslims, minorities, and ethnically, whoever is Syrian, so Syria belongs to them. So it's a huge transformation when it comes to the way that they think. And while this is happening in Idlib, there has been some other factions as well, such as Nurettin Zengi Brigade and such as Sultan Murad brigades, joining them and enforcing them, of course. So we are talking about roughly around 60,000 fighters just in Idlib, and majority of them, almost 80% of them, belong to HTS. So this is one opposition. When you go to further north, so it's a Syrian National Army, which is internationally recognized and particularly backed by Turkey. So they also have roughly around 25,000 fighters. They're also being called as the Syrian opposition. So when there is a coordination between the Syrian National Army and the HTS, yes, on a certain level, they are coordinated. However, they are not the same opposition. So when you go to south, it is Daraa, Sweida, and Quneitra. So the opposition in the south is absolutely a different thing. They always had a kind of semi-autonomy. They had a special status given by the government, so they had recognized the government authority over there, and in return, the government was giving them a semi-autonomous status. However, now that the Syrian government is losing the control almost across the whole country, they also are going through a second wave of uprising and taking over the cities. So this is another. Do they have the coordination with the HTS and with the opposition in the north? To a certain level, yes. However, they are not completely aligned and integrated. And it's not only that. So we are talking about the Kurdish forces as well, particularly at the northeastern of the country. The Syrian Democratic Forces, as it's known, and backed by the United States. Indeed, the Kurdish fighters there are the USA's main ally in Syria. They are being trained and equipped by the United States. And now they are in control of the city of Raqqa, in control of the city of Deir ez-Zor, and almost the whole eastern part of the country, the northeastern part of the country. So they are also saying that they are the Syrian opposition. Do they have a coordination? To a certain level, yes. Yesterday we have seen that the HTS leader, Mohammed Julan, is sending out war messages to the the Kurdish fighters, and also the leader of the Kurdish forces over there, backed by the United States, Mazlum Abdi, saying that actually he and his forces could work with the HTS to rebuild Syria. So these are quite neat elements. When we talk about the Syrian opposition, it's quite a crowded scene. There are different fractions, different political approaches, different ideological backgrounds. However, now they all are talking about one enemy, and that is the Syrian government led by President Bashar al-Assad. And they're saying that now their priority is to bring his government down. So that is why when we talk about the Syrian opposition and their coordination, it's quite nuanced, Nick.
Resul, thanks for that. Resul Serdar reporting, giving us the very latest activity.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.